know I'm right. So it's messages that children, adults, adolescents, learners of any age listen to and understand. And listening isn't the only vehicle for comprehensible input. What's another vehicle for comprehensible input? Reading. Reading can be comprehensible input. It's a huge source of comprehensible input. And don't forget this one. What is this? Being read to. Is that a source of language acquisition? Huge. How many of you have children? How many of you have a child that came to you over and over and said, Mama, 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 read me this book again and again and again? What's the great thing about that? Each time it becomes more and more comprehensible. Sound familiar? Repetition. Did you feel any of that repetition this morning? You remember the little children's book where the character goes from this animal to that animal and says, "Are you my mother?" Eres tú mi mamá? Are you my mother? Are you my mother? Are you my mother? Eventually, a child being read that book has acquired the phrase, "Are you my mother?" Right? That's how language is acquired. We need a lot of repetition, but it's got to be interesting, and it's got to be understandable. It's got to be comprehensible. Who are the best language teachers? I mentioned it earlier. Mamas and papas. Why? Because they walk to the crib and they toss in the textbook and they say, "Okay, memorize your vocabulary quiz tomorrow. Do your flashcards. You better conjugate your verbs." Is that how they do it? That's not how language is acquired. Stop the madness. I mean, no judgment. If you're doing that kind of stuff, we've all done that. But learn from my mistakes. Don't keep doing it. Doing the same kind of thing over and over again without producing any success in results and expecting that you're going to have success, that's just crazy making, right? That's nonsense. And as a profession, we've come to realize we've got to fully embrace the process of language acquisition. I'm just going to tell you a story because stories are powerful. You know who this woman was? This was my Spanish teacher. And I'll bet there are a lot of kids just like me in your classes. So on behalf of all of them, I say to you, with a lot of gratitude, thank you. Thank you for the tough job you do, wherever you are. Thank you for using the language, teaching the language, communicating with your students. I was so lucky. I had no idea what a gift I had to have this woman and a couple of other fabulous teachers that have really changed my life. I was a pallbearer at her funeral. We were good friends until she died. Her name was Senora Upchurch. And in Anadarko, Oklahoma, no, you don't know where that is. It's a tiny town. How many of you do know? Indian City, USA. You know. Where are you from?
Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City? Oh, well, okay. She's from the big town, the big city. 8th grade, this woman walked across the stage and I was in her homeroom. I had her for 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And I'm telling you this in a story so you will never forget it. Because the human brain thinks in stories. By communicating with you and telling you something that is compelling, that you understand, that's interesting, that's personal, you will remember it. I challenge you to forget it. I studied with this woman for 5 years. Every day. I loved her. Now look at what's on the desk. Who can see what's on the board? Tell me about it. Textbooks. What else? 501 verbs. What's on the board? Verb conjugations. Habéis vivido. Han llevado. I don't know. Whatever verbs on the board. That's what we did. A lot of people call it plug and chug. We did our verb conjugations, we did our worksheets, we memorized, but not during the first 5 minutes of class. No. First 5 minutes of class, she would sit on the edge of the desk and she'd swing her little legs. She was a short little woman. Spitfire, loved her. Very funny. She would tell us little jokes, all in Spanish. She'd draw on the board like stick figures, terrible drawings. We didn't care. It helped us understand. We loved it. We loved her. She spoke it to us in Spanish for about 5 minutes. And I was on the front row, edge of my seat, loved it. And then she'd say, "Basta ya, a trabajar." What does that mean? It's time to work. Yes, it is. It's time to work. What did she mean? Let's start our verb conjugations. Let's do our verb charts. Let's do our worksheets. And everybody else in the class would just kind of check out mentally and go into this zombie land of plug and chug. I loved it because I felt like I was good at something. Yay! So here's the interesting thing. I didn't understand language acquisition until I got to college. University of Oklahoma. Go Sooners! I know the Cotton Bowl's here. I used to come all the time. I'm real sorry about Tex. I didn't do it. I did not burn him down. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then get out more often and go to the Texas Oklahoma football game at the Cotton Bowl. What do they call that? State Fair Park. You gotta go. Anyway, so I was in college at OU. And we were assigned to read in my methodology class about language acquisition. We read Stephen Krashen's book along with Tracy Terrell, Natural Approach. And I read that book and I thought, this is a bunch of hooey. This is nonsense. It makes no sense. I did not learn language that way. I remember how I learned. What did I remember? Verb charts. What else? Worksheets. What else? Textbook. Maybe a few dialogues. Camarero, camarero, dos Coca-Colas, por favor. Right? Oh my gosh. That's what I remembered. But I could speak Spanish. And I was reading Krashen, and Krashen would say, no, comprehensible input. It's through communication, through understanding messages that you acquire language. And I remembered when I was a senior, after 5 years, I was having a conversation in Spanish in the hallway at Anadarko High School with this woman, and the principal was standing there, watching, listening. And he realized, wow, they're having a conversation. And we did that all the time. It was like code. And if you ever have those conversations with students, it's kind of like maybe other people around don't understand. And he stopped us and he said, excuse me, Upchurch? He called her Upchurch. He said, why is it that Fritz speaks Spanish and nobody else does? Think about that. She was so angry. She did not like this man, especially for pointing out something that this is truth in our profession. We've hoped that everyone would acquire the language, and yet not a lot of kids have, right? It's the unspoken truth in our profession. We want to talk about that. Oh no. So now I challenge you, turn to your partner and figure out why. I'm not special. Why did Fritz speak Spanish and yet no other kid was known for speaking Spanish in the whole program? You got 1 minute to figure it out. Finish the story. Why did I speak Spanish and they didn't? Don't spoil it, but who thinks they figured it out? Why did I speak Spanish and other kids didn't? What do you think? Did you come up with a hypothesis?
You usually spoke with your Spanish teacher very often?
I did speak with my Spanish teacher often, that's true. Okay, what else? Other ideas? Yes?
Because you were attentive during the verb conjugation, because you liked doing them?
Because I was so attentive, I was paying attention during the grammar that I soaked it up. Okay, thank you. Other ideas?
I think your high interest.
High interest. I was motivated. What else? Intrinsic motivation. I did love this woman. No, I figured out what it was. I had forgotten that I was the nerdy kid. And you have these students, so let me say again, thank you for what you do teaching them. A lot of you may not realize, Darcy Pippins is known for it at Norman High. You provide a safe place for kids that feel a little bit different. and you give them a place to hang out and feel safe. I often didn't have that. So I would, I can't go to the cafeteria, I'm afraid they're gonna beat me up. Don't wanna go outside, they may attack me. I would hang out in her classroom at lunch. Guess what she would do at lunch? Talk to me in Spanish about what I'm eating. What are you eating? Oh, do you like that? Is that your favorite? Does your mom cook? Do you cook? What was she doing at lunch that she wasn't doing in class most of the time? During lunch, she would communicate with me because it wasn't official school time. Well, historically, we've had it backwards. We've been wasting kids' time teaching them information about language, and they don't acquire it, when if we will communicate most of the time in the language, they will acquire it and they'll speak it. Does that make sense? That's why parents are the best language teachers that there are. Why? Because they don't teach language. So can we stop teaching language? Actually, we're going to teach language better than ever, because the best way to do it is to communicate. Comprehensible input, okay? I was reading Stephen Krashen, Natural Approach, and I had this aha moment. Absolutely, I acquired Spanish. I acquired it at lunch, and not everybody had that luxury. Isn't that a fluke? And I think that's where part of my motivation and my passion comes from. I feel a little bit guilty that I got something that everybody else didn't get, and now that I figured it out, I want to make sure that as many kids get absolutely what they need to be able to function in international business, as a diplomat, or just at the corner store ordering a meal. I don't care. I want our society to be multilingual. It helps us as a nation. It helps our world be a more peaceful place. So that's my story. We talked about TPR, right? You saw total physical response. I just want to give credit because I didn't have the slides, I didn't have the technology in there. They couldn't make it work. So we're here. James Asher, San Jose State University. We modeled gesturing, delaying the gesture, removing the gesture. Even if you didn't notice, Karen was doing this kind of stuff. When she would say, look at the chocolate. This group look, that group look. Varying the grouping. But TPR, even when you're doing all of these things, it's very different than TPRS. It's similar, yet it's different. What is TPRS? Stories. It's storytelling, or I like the word story asking. We have to give Blaine Ray credit for developing this method of TPRS, or I like to call it story asking. And there were 3 steps. Karen and Hayun, they didn't spend much time on the first step, saying this, where we go, this means this, or this means this, establishing meaning. They didn't spend much time there. They spent most of their time on step 2, asking the story. Now, in Karen's group, I don't think you got to, did you get to step 3, reading? Okay, but they didn't get, oh yeah, okay. But now, she's given you the actual reading, okay? Raise your hand if you didn't get the Spanish reading and you'd like one, and we'll bring one around, okay? A couple people still need that. Okay, keep those hands up or we won't know where to go. So Karen has a reading, right? All of the language that she was teaching was to get you to step 3 to be able to read this story. Does that make sense? In other words, which words do you use to communicate or teach? You backward plan. If I want you to read this story and understand it and play it as a mind picture, or hear this song and read it and understand it, then I've got to backward plan all of the language and teach it in chunks via communication. Okay? So this is step 3 of TPRS. We're going to model a couple of ways, different ways to do reading. Step 3, because that's where we spent the least amount of time. Okay? Any questions about those 3 steps? I'm going to walk you through again. Step 1 is establish. And you can do that using pictures. You can use it doing gestures. Did you do a gesture for mira? Show me, mira. Oh, I like that. Whatever. Good. Okay. What was your gesture for, let's see, I don't have those words out. What was the gesture for le da? Le da. Le da. There you go. We can use TPR or gestures to teach. I can talk over you, sorry. To pre-teach vocabulary. We can even use English. And there are two mics outside, but I haven't seen them.
Are you okay with your son?
Yeah, I'm fine, yeah. We can even use English to tell them what the words mean. Now, some of you have run up to me and said, oh my gosh, I see English on the words on the wall and it's scaring me. Well, it doesn't scare your kids. Because a lot of your kids think in English. And so when you're speaking all this language and they're not understanding, it's actually helpful. So I think we as a profession, we have to get over the fact that there might be some English translation. Was Karen speaking English most of the time? No. Hayut wasn't speaking English most of the time. They were speaking mostly target language, but by providing the English, you knew what they were saying. In other words, the input was comprehensible. Now let's think about this. Do we acquire language through incomprehensible input? No, we stress kids out. That's what we do. So beware of incomprehensible input. We've all done it. I'm really good at doing it. I have to work on speaking more slowly, pointing more, asking more questions, using actors, using props, all of those things. So don't be afraid of using a little bit of English to establish meaning. It doesn't mean you're teaching English all the time in your Mandarin class or your Spanish class. Here's the big step. We spend most of our time asking the story or co-creating the story with our students. And as students have more vocabulary, more that they can say, they become active creators of the story with you. And we're going to work on that technique, PQA, personalized question and answer, PQA. There was a lot of circling that they were doing where they were asking repetitive questions, and we practiced that. And I think there was acting going on in both rooms, right? Did they ever coach the actors? Did they ever tell the actors what to do? Sure. Did they do it? Did Karen do it all in Spanish? If Hayun had turned to English speakers or Spanish speakers and said all in Mandarin, now I want you to put your hand on top of your head and run in a circle, would they know what to do? No, that's incomprehensible. So it's okay to use a stage whisper and say, I want you to look at her romantically, and then go back in target language and say it over and over and ask, does that make sense? That's keeping it comprehensible, folks. That's not a bad thing. But we want to stay in target language most of the time. Step 3 is what we've looked at the least, which is reading. And when we read in TPRS, there's not one right way to do it. We can do it as a whole group, or we translate to English, although I prefer to stay in target language most of the time, but sometimes that's an okay way to start. You could have someone translate with a partner for meaning, but I want to focus on other ways for us to read. So Hayun has agreed to model a little bit of reading with students. Where are my Mandarin students from this morning? Oh, come on, raise your hands, Mandarin students. Okay, so she needs a little sample class, and we don't have chairs. If you're willing to sit on the floor, it'll only be for about 5 minutes, right? Raise your hand if you're willing to come up, or actually just come on down, and we're going to do a little fishbowl where we watch her doing, come on, it's free Mandarin, come on down, teaching a little Mandarin with the words that she had reading. We got one person, that's not nearly enough. Don't make me come and get you. I know who you are. I will come and get you. Come on down. ¿Dónde están mis españoles? A ver, españoles, pa' frente. Vamos. Levantaos. Gracias, guapa. Qué maja. Sure. So, what step is it? What step is she modeling? Step 1, step 2, or step 3? I didn't get an answer. Which step is she modeling? 1, 2, or 3? Step 3, which is known as reading. Exactly. If you're in the back talking, you can guarantee as soon as she starts talking, I'm going to be coming back and moving you forward. I don't treat you any differently than I treat my own classes. Always, exactly. My expectation of you is exactly as it is of any class. Never any different. Okay.
Okay, I think you can hear me.
Can you hear her?
Can you hear me?
You're going to have to be very loud. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Raise your volume.
Okay. Oh, oh, wow, you are a Chinese student. You are not here?
Okay, I'll go.
Oh, also. You want to review paper?
Yeah. Do you mind? Is standing okay? You okay standing? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Give them applause. Yay!
早，
What's this called?
早啊，早，早，早。
Language acquisition is not repeat after me.
快快走，慢慢走，
Notice how she's not modeling. She's her legs.
非
She's
常好，
moving.
好极了，好极了，停，
Oh.
看，看，浪漫的看 Jason， 浪漫的看
That
Jason。
means look romantically, Jason. Thank you for that.
All the beautiful girls. 停，停，走，快快走，停，慢慢看 Karen， 慢慢看 Karen， 不看 Karen， 不看 Karen。What does it mean 不看？ Don't look at Karen. 看 class. 不看 class. Okay, so we can try to get it reading.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
在
So this is a new word.
That's a new word. 在 means to be at. 在 Jason 在 Garland. Can you do woo? Oh, come on, you can do better. You are the most brave woman in the crowd. Come on. Okay, Jason 在 Garland. Woo! Karen 在 Garland 吗？在哦 Karen 在 Garland。谁在 Garland？ Karen 和 Jason 在 Garland。啊，海人在 Garland 吗？
Garland.
Wow, you guys are superstar. You presented the 海人在 Garland。谁在 Garland？ 海人
Jason, Karen
和
Simon,
Karen 在 Garland。We're going to try to read it.
So she just went through step one, establishing meaning, and even just kind of cycled through with a new structure, right?
Okay. You see 看, there's a hand over the eyes. So this is top up hands. You say boo, crabs growing and got stopped. Boo, boo, boo. So, do you see the steps? Very easy, composing the steps. That's 走. What does 走 mean?
Walk.
Walk. Awesome. Did you see the steps there? Does it make sense? That's 跑. That's 说. 停.
So, Spanish teachers, how many of you teach Spanish? benefit of, we have the same writing system, right?
Sure.
Non-Western languages like Mandarin have characters. And most Mandarin teachers start with pinyin to introduce characters. And then they start recognizing with sight of characters. Pinyin, do you do pinyin and characters both?
We do pinyin, then we do character.
And she does characters.
reading.
So for those of you who teach Mandarin, she's demonstrating a way that she starts to introduce characters.
Reading. Yeah. So there's two things that we didn't get. Mama, this is mama, means mom. Just going to tell you. This is bao means baby. Okay, so I'm going to do a gesture. Mama means baby. Baby means bao. Okay, so those two I'm just going to give to you. And then, so for Chinese teachers, tones are coded. And for you, you're going to see different colors in Hanzi. First tone is high, rises, coded in red. Second tone is rising, it's orange. Third tone is gray, like a green valley. The fourth tone is blue ocean, it's falling. You don't need to worry about it. It's just going to give you the indication. Okay. Oh, Mama, you just join me when you're ready, okay? Mama 和宝宝。妈妈在 Costco， 宝宝在 Costco。妈妈在哪儿？妈妈在哪儿？哦，妈妈在 Costco。宝宝在哪儿？宝宝在 Costco。
Give her applause, yay!
That's good.
Yay!
So which means you can do this, you can come to the reading
Can you, yeah, so just to, hopefully you're listening. I can't talk over your voice and over your voices and have any voice left. I don't have the microphone on, so I'm pushing with everything I've got from here, which is using my voice nonstop since September. So, what she's doing is showing you a way to introduce sight, what do you call it? Sight reading?
Cold character reading.
Cold character reading with non-Western language. And of course, this is coming after they've already developed some language, after they've already been introduced to the pinyin, you say?
Yes.
And they're beginning to recognize characters. Now, those of us who teach Western languages, we don't even have this issue. So therefore, we don't have any excuses. It's the same alphabet. And we're going to look at reading strategies for if your alphabet is pretty much the same. Okay?
Jason could not add
Sure,
one thing.
absolutely.
So in Chinese, in order for cold character reading to work, it's the auditory input counts. So once students, they have the sound and the meaning in their head, they associate it together, then you add the visual. You add character recognition. It's very similar to native kids, child, how acquire language. Before they enter school, they have a sound, have the meaning associated together in their head. And then when they come to school, they just recognize and Hanzi. So in classroom, in this way, we're able to create a very similar to this child, how they acquire reading.
Yay! Applause! Okay, so now I want us to, let's pass out, can we get a couple volunteers, Karen? You? Okay. Oh, they have it. Okay, take out this handout with the storyboard on it. And if you've got the other handout with, thank you. If you have the, oh, that's much easier. Oh, gosh. If you, thank you. If you have the other handout with Karen's story, we're gonna look at that. Okay, I got it. Just faster. Time. Okay, sorry, the German in me. Blame the Germans. Okay, so do you see that handout? You find that? So I mentioned to you earlier, of course you already know where you're going. You have a story in mind, or you have content that you're teaching, or you're doing a song, or you're doing a unit that involves whatever content. You've backward planned from that, Okay, I want you to understand that you're always looking at where you want to go, and you're backward planning your chunks of language and the communication that you need to engage students in class. So this is the story. It's actually a song. This is the story that Karen was working toward. But she could say, class, now we're going to read, right? Is that step 1, step 2, or step 3? Step 3.
I didn't teach all of this, so you were in this class. Look at that piece of paper on the Spanish and look at if you can figure out what my day 1 lesson plan was. So day 1 was what? Look at them.
Look at the words.
See right here?
What did she teach out of the song?
So I taught these, but have I taught them all? No. So is it time to read yet? No, because it has to be 100% comprehensible before I even get them to that. But we were ready for this. So I still went to step 3, and then the next day, what do you think my lesson plan would be? It's there in Spanish and in English. The next day, what would I do? Nope, not read. I haven't taught it all yet. Sure, I'd start over again with the next words. So, give me an idea. What would you teach next?
Gato, cat.
Good, maybe cat. I did chocolate instead of cat because I don't want to tell the same story over and over and over again and then read it. I want to tell lots of different variations and then read a completely different story, which is what we would have done. So, if you look at what Jason was talking about with backward planning, you have TPR words. Do you see another example of a TPR word we could do tomorrow? What is it?
Chacho.
On your page, what would a TPR word be for tomorrow?
Action verb. Object.
Throw. Good. So throw might come tomorrow, and we would have stories where I would add throw and recycle this vocabulary. But when I get to do the TPRS words, look at some words that would be really hard to gesture. That's going to go in the part of your lesson plan that Jason was talking about for storytelling. Give me an example. What's a word in there? Tiene. Yes, there's one more. Recoge I can do through TPR.
Pick up.
Pick up I can do through TPR. There's one more. Besa is TPR. I can do it tomorrow. Hace cara mala. Hace cara mala means make a bad face, make a mean face, make an angry face. That I would not do through TPR because hace is so complicated to teach. Also, just a note, do you see how it's in English and in Spanish? That does not happen in my class. That's for your benefit so that you can see the entire lesson plan. This is how I would keep building until I got to the entire story.
Okay, so the important thing is that you need to understand is you're always backward planning. You're always moving toward whatever you're going to be reading, any content that you're going to be teaching. She's going to go tomorrow, in case you're here tomorrow, which I know many of you aren't. That's why we're touching on lots right now. She's going to be going in depth on backward planning and the process of backward planning from a reading, from a novel. You can backward plan from songs. But step 3 is reading. So I want us to look at reading in a variety of ways.
If you're not here, it's going to be live streamed.
The sessions, in case you can't hear, the sessions tomorrow are going to be live streamed. So maybe you can catch them online. And I'll show you at the end where you would find them. The things that were live streamed today are available there, and you don't have to catch them live. You can replay them, right? So I'll show you that resource. So I mentioned to you a lot of times with my students, I say, okay, I've got this story that we can read, or we can do a storyboard of our story. Why? Because this one is slightly different than the one we create in class. How is it different from the one we create in class? The vocabulary is pretty similar, but what? The characters may be different, or what? The details, the problems may be slightly different. Why? Because I personalized it to my students, or I personalized it with the creative ideas of my students. That is student-centered instruction, where students drive a lot of the curriculum. That's powerful. That's not teacher-centered. Now, a couple people came up and said, but isn't this teacher-centered instruction? The teacher's speaking the language all the time. Yes. Our national standards say teacher has to speak the target language at least 90% of the time. That's reality. Folks, they're not going to acquire the language from each other. A child that does not speak Mandarin is not going to look at another child that does not speak Mandarin and learn Mandarin from them. Do we get that? Are we clear? Where do we acquire language? From mamas and papas, from people who speak that language. You are the language parent. Congratulations, you've got to speak to your children at least 90% of the time. I try to hit 98, 99, sometimes 100% of the time, but comprehensively. Okay, so what my students always say is, yeah, they want this one or they want our story. Which one? Our story. So if you want to write on this, I got extras. You can pick up a blank one on the way out. Or if you want to write on this and you want to know where can I get more online and just download as many as I want, I'm going to show you at the end. Don't panic. It's all good and it's free. Do we like free? Yay, I love free. Okay. So you're my students and I said, which do we want to do? And you say, we want to do our story. So let's do our story. Okay? Is this step 1, step 2, or step 3? Step 3. And since we've got Spanish and Mandarin and everybody together, I want to do just part of a storyboard with students, and I'm going to use English. Is that okay? So everybody understands? But we're clear that when I'm speaking English now in my classroom, it would be all Spanish. Okay? And in your classroom, it would be all Mandarin. And in yours, French. Make sense? Okay. So, class. Let's take out our pencils. Are we going to write? Yes or no? Yes. Are we going to write in English? Yes. No. Of course, target language. Yeah, we're going to use English. But yeah, in my class, I said, no, we're not going to write in English. We're going to write in Spanish. That's right. Okay, so English is our target language here. We'll use that. And everybody uses Sharpies, right? I like to use this size Sharpie. Why? Tell me why. What's so great about that size Sharpie? It's thin. Or this one, the Papermate, writes really well. Don't use the thick Sharpie. It's too hard to read. And elementary, middle school kids will freak out because they can't read the letters. It's very important that it be visible. Okay, so let's just use part of Karen's story because I like learning it. It sounds so fun. So, what's the problem? Someone's looking at chocolate, right? Yeah. Who? Jack. Jack. What does he look at? Jack looks. Now, is it Jack look or Jack looks? That's right, looks, because it's one person. Jack looks. Jack looks at the door? No, Jack looks where? Oh, Jack looks at Stacy. Oh. Now, here's the thing. I don't know the story. I wasn't there. The best thing you can do, are we listening? Are we listening? The best thing you can do is forget parts of the story because it forces you to what? Ask more questions. So don't worry about, I don't know how I remember all those stories. I don't. I just keep asking questions. Okay, so Jack looks at Stacy, right? Does Stacy look at Jack? No. Okay. If you have really super fast kids and you want to give them something to do, what can they do? Draw. If you have really slow kids, what can they do? They're not really writing. What are they doing? Copying. That's what novice learners can do. They can read, understand, and copy. And that's how they learn to write. Make sense? And if they're real speedy, then have them draw it. If they're slow, draw it at home if they want to. Okay, so let's draw Jack. Jack, where are you? Is Jack in here? I saw him earlier. Okay, he has kind of the longest hair, right? Okay, Jack. Did he have glasses? No. Okay, so no glasses? Oh, he has big ears. Jack will love hearing that. How about we say big, lovely ears? Okay, so Jack looks. He's looking at Stacy. Where's Stacy? Is she here? No, she's in the other group. What does Stacy look like? And if you want to communicate these kinds of things at this point and say, well, what color is her hair? It's a perfectly beautiful opportunity to do it because it's real communication. Okay, he looks at Stacy. Does Stacy look at Jack? No. Okay, Stacy does not look at Jack. Her eyes are closed. Okay. Oh no, is there a problem? Is there a problem? Yes or no? Oh, so who looks at the chocolate? Okay, Jack looks at the chocolate. And I'm not going to go through the whole story, but you see the process, right? I'm asking questions. I'm checking your comprehension. You're answering my questions. You're answering at word level. You're answering at short phrase level. And I'm reformulating it into longer chunks and modeling that in this literacy. Make sense? How many of you already use storyboards? Oh my gosh, this is the most powerful tool you can have. And the publishers don't want you to know about it. Because to teach language, all you need is the language, content, which is often about the students and the culture, and then if you're teaching more dual language, immersion, the classroom content from the grade area, and you just marry it and create literacy exercises, and they're growing. Yes, you need some books for them to read, but you don't need a lot of textbooks for teaching language. These are whole language activities. They work very, very well. That's why the publishers tried to kill them long ago and say, well, whole language doesn't work. You bet it does. It's what mamas and papas do all the time. Is there anyone that learned to read and or write in their native language from their parents in a similar way? I did. My parents read to me all the time and showed me how to write. I knew how to read and write before I went to school in this kind of style. It's just language acquisition. So what do we call this paper? This is called a storyboard. Now, how many of you are supposed to give homework? Some people do have to, some people don't. Homework could simply be reread the story and draw. It might be, uh-oh, there's a problem. Do you have a problem song? Now, in my class, when I say there's a problem, they have to sing, hay un problema, and all the kids sing, dum, da-dum, dum, dum. Let's try that. Sir, join us. It'd be great to have you join us. Hay un problema. Dum, 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 dum. Didn't hear you in the middle. Let's try it again. Hay un problema. Excellent. And that gets a lot of engagement, a lot of emotion. Okay? There's a problem. Jack looks at Stacy, but Stacy's looking at the chocolate, and whatever the story is. And you can use storyboard for academic content as well. Someone said, but I teach first grade and I teach the life cycle. Act out the life cycle of chicks hatching, the hen laying the chicks hatching. Act it out, draw it out, write it out. Does it always have to be fiction? No, it can be informational text. It can be nonfiction as well. But storyboards are a really, really good device. How many of you teach little kids? Okay, well, this is a technique for that. Turn to the next page. Can 5-year-olds write? Probably not a lot, right? Some of you are like, yes, and they write paragraphs. They write 5-paragraph essays. No, they don't. Many of them can hardly hold a pencil. But is this a text? What is this? It is a storyboard that I just created for my students. I make all kinds of these, especially for little students, with stick figures. And when I go through the story, so if you have little kids, you can go through the content of your story, and step 3 is reading what? Reading pictures. Make sense? And as you read those pictures, add some text. Add a phrase. Add some words so they start to recognize words. Do they have to write the words? No. But if they want to, they might copy a word. What can they do as you read through the pictures? They can draw. They can color. You can talk about the color of the hair. You can change the picture. Does this make sense? It gives them a focus. It focuses them on the text. This is a literacy activity for little ones. Okay? Yes? I don't understand what you're saying. Demo one square. Okay, got it. Okay, I'm doing this tomorrow, but I'll do it quickly for people who won't be here. So we've created a story. We've created a story out of PQA. So if I'm going to demo this, you've got to know a little bit of the story. So I got to switch gears. Okay. Any good language teacher personalizes a classroom. Any good language teacher does PQA. So PQA is simply asking questions to your students. So let me give you an example, and I will go in this in depth tomorrow if you're here. So let's imagine you're first graders, okay? Who has a pet? Who has, and I don't go with dog first. Who has a fish? Oh, how many fish do you have? Just one? You have 3 fish? Oh, wow. Say your name. One fish. Becky has 1 fish, but Michelle, does Michelle have 1 fish? No, Becky has 1 fish. Michelle has 3 fish. Wow, Michelle, what color are your fish? What are their names? Etc., etc., etc. That's called what? PQA, personalizing, okay? But the magic of a story is finding out often what the tragedy is. The tragedy is that what, Sarah doesn't look at Jack? Oh no, oh no. The tragedy here is finding out, if you're a first grader, who doesn't have an animal? So that's the question we ask. Who doesn't have a pet? Oh no. Who wants a pet? You want a pet? Yes or no? Yes. Notice she's a language teacher, and yet she's answering non-verbally with a gesture, just like your students will. If you think they're going to spit out a complete sentence, you're dreaming. That takes a long time. We do that because we're language teachers and we're comfortable. So I want you to see the reality. Thank you for doing that. What's your name? Sophia? Sophialia? Sophialia. I'm saying it wrong, but I love it. Does Sophialia have a pet? No. Does she want a pet? Yes. Do you want a fish? No. No. Do you want a cat? Yeah. Oh! Does she want a fish or a cat? Cat. That's right, Sophialia wants a cat. Does Becky want a cat? No, Becky has 3 fish. No cat. Yeah, and we get more information. You can build a whole story out of your students' lives. Boom. Now I can change this story into, there's a boy or a girl? There's a girl. What's her name? Her name is Sophie. Sophialia. Does she want a dog? No, she doesn't want a dog. She wants a cat. That's right. She wants a cat. Does she want a fish? No. She wants a cat? Yeah. If they can handle a lot of words, give them the words. If they can't, give them few words. Maybe I just give wants a cat. Okay? Does that make sense? So there are all types of storyboards. You can do a long, complicated one with lots of words for adolescents and adults. You can do medium for younger grades. You can do stick figures to create literacy for lower grades. But the point is, read. And you may say, but I don't have a storyboard. Well, of course you do. What a bunch of horse hockey. What a bunch of nonsense. If you've got a blank piece of paper, and I thought she had some here, but who's got a blank piece of paper? You take a blank piece of paper. You say, fold it once. How many times? Once. Fold it twice. For elementary, twice. And how many boxes? 4. You teach middle school? Fold it 3 times. How many boxes? You cannot do math. Thank goodness you're a language teacher. 8. 6. It's okay. I can't do math either. That's why I teach Spanish. Okay. 8. Now you've got 8. You could fold it another time. You could have 16 boxes. All you need is the language, the techniques to make it comprehensible, asking a lot of questions, creating stories, creating literacy with your students. That's all you need. Now, don't tell the publishers. They don't want you to know that, because textbooks are expensive. They cost about, it's okay, I can talk. They cost about $100 a piece or more. So they want you to know this. So these are some ideas for reading. Make sense? Whether it's high level, high cognition, low level, low cognition. And don't forget, always do TPR. Stories are fantastic, but don't let go of TPR. So those are some ideas for ways to do step 3, reading. I call that a guided writing. You can even do it as a Mad Lib, where you have the text, but there are blanks, and they fill in the blank. Not fill in the blank with the correct form of the verb or the pronoun, no. Fill in the blank with the name of the character. Sophialia wants a cat. Becky doesn't want a cat. Becky has 3, and you put in the details in your story, okay? There's not one right way to do it. This is also reading. How many of you do reading games? Anybody do sequencing games? Okay, now if you're like me, you photocopy your story. You take the 8 sentences of your story and you photocopy it on white paper and they play it, and that was fun. And then the bell rings and they drop them on the floor and they're all mixed up. And you spend an hour or 2 after school sorting them all out, right? Bad idea. Learn from my mistakes. I don't do that anymore. I use these. Watch this. These are my 4th graders. This is one of the first readings that they do. It's of the Bad Baby story, which we will present in detail tomorrow. It's lots of fun. You're going to want to be here. Call in sick and just come and join us. I give them all the sentences, and they put the strips in chronological order. In other words, in the order in which they happen in the story. Or it could be in the song, too. Right? And so they know this story. We acted it out. I backward planned all of it. So this is step 1, step 2, or step 3? It's step 3. But I don't say we're going to read. No, I say, vamos a jugar. We're going to play. That's all kids care about. If you're a Spanish teacher, all you need to say is, we're going to play. Vamos a jugar. Just make everything a game. Pretend everything is a game. Input, input, input. It's a game. I wish I could say that in Mandarin. How do we say, let's play? Again? 玩游戏. 玩游戏. I like that. Now some of you teach, I threw this slide in because some of you say, but I teach math content, but I teach social studies content. And I'm going to guide people into planning thematic units around those ideas tomorrow. But you're here today and I just want to give you a little taste of it so you get some ideas, okay? Because I know not everybody can be together. You can do this guided writing technique with anything. In whole language, it was called language experience, and it's a student-centered text, whether it's fiction or informational. It helps develop language literacy, second language literacy. You're teaching the spelling, the grammar in context. So important. And you're encouraging students to move from input to output. It's helping with that. So,
¿Cómo se llama la fiesta? Se llama el...
So here are 4th graders,
¿Cuándo es?
and we've explored the Day of the Dead in Mexico, an important holiday in Mexico.
Es una fiesta
I'm asking questions.
en México.
It's a big party in Mexico?
Las familias.
What do the families eat?
Ponen ofrendas.
Oh, excuse me. What do they build? What do they make? They make ofrendas,
Okay, ponen ofrendas en la
or an ofrenda is like a memorial.
Otro, o ponen ofrendas en los cementerios.
They also put ofrendas in the cemeteries to remember their loved ones.
cementerio. ¿Y qué ponen? ¿Qué ponen en las ofrendas?
What do they put on the ofrendas?
Okay.
Do they know words? They know a lot of language. What I'm doing is taking the language that we built together, recycling it, and formalizing it through this literacy activity. Does that make sense? This is nonfiction. This is cultural. This is pretty high level, especially when you consider that I only see my students